In this video, I'm going to show you how to use a tool called SellerAmp to calculate your profits before you actually even buy inventory, and how to find profitable products by reverse sourcing other sellers all through this software. My name is jayslarosa, and I've been selling on Amazon for 3 years now, all while traveling the world. And I've been using this tool daily to scale my store to 7 figures. And by the end of this video, you'll understand how. SellerAmp takes the guessing out of profits, and I'll show you how to read it like a pro so that you can make confident, fast decisions and start spotting leads that others often overlook. So let's get right on into it. All right, here we are diving into it. So we are on an Amazon listing, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a different method. Look at SellerAmp, and it's going to be the best way to basically describe it. So SellerAmp is a software and a tool that you use for every single listing that you analyze, because you want to calculate the profit for every single listing that you are on. So when you get SellerAmp, you're able to open it up as a Chrome extension on every single listing when you pop up a new listing with Amazon. So when you're analyzing a new listing, this Chrome pop up, and basically you get instant data from SellerAmp here, right? So here on the right is the SellerAmp popping up, and this is like the quick guide view of looking at SellerAmp. And ideally, you can also look at SellerAmp, which we will go into in the third part of this video, into the back end of SellerAmp and how to analyze it and how to set it up so that you do get these numbers and these statistics as I'll go through here, right? We go through SellerAmp from top to bottom, right? So SellerAmp is going to tell you here where it says eligible. It's either going to say yes or no for your Amazon account. That means that if you're gated or you're ungated to basically sell the product. Gated means that some brands and some listings don't allow you to sell the listing, but other brands and other listings do, right? Not every Amazon seller is going to be gated or ungated in every product, and it varies from different accounts and different sellers. But it's always important to even check this, whether you're gated or not, because this is a quick guide evaluation to see whether it's worth it or not worth it to actually start selling here on this listing. Then the second thing you want to look at is the BSR. That's the best sellers rank, right? So the best seller rank is how well this product is doing within its category, right? So the lower a BSR it is, the better, because number one BSR in every category is the best selling product in the category, right? And Amazon already, identifies each product into its own category, like tools and home improvement, home goods, or sports and outdoors, or kitchenware, right? So every product has its own BSR for every single category, right? Because it's identified in its own category. So this BSR being 6K is really well, because that means that it's a 6,000 best product in the tools and home improvement category, which is a big category here on Amazon. Also, you want to identify that if it shows 1%, that means it's in the top 1% of its category. That's very, very important to analyze, because anything higher than that, then it's not really worth it, because the volume is going to be low and you're not going to get a lot of sales, right? So you want to emphasize it being 1% and also having a lower BSR, the better. If you see like 1,000 or 2,000, it's not too high quality, right? But if you see 100,000 or 1 million or 2 million, that's not high quality. If it's 1,000 or 2,000, that's really good quality, right? So, but anyways, SellerAmp also tells you the monthly sales guide right on next to it, right? So as you can see here, the monthly sales is 1,000 a month, right? And that's a really, really good volume here for an Amazon listing, because that means that this listing is selling through a lot of inventory. And if you're able to buy it at a certain buy cost or a profitable buy cost, you can make a lot of money with just one listing, right? So moving right along the SellerAmp, as you can see on my cursor here, this price here, this is set, which we're going to do in the third part of this video, on the back end of SellerAmp. So it's actually a software and a website that you go on to set your criteria and your tools, saying that, hey, I want to make $5 profit every product that I analyze. I want to make 30% ROI, and so on, right? So this number automatically populates on every new listing, every new Amazon listing, to say, hey, you're only able to buy this product at $22 if you want to meet your criteria. Because if you buy any higher than $22.26, you're going lower than your criteria, which means you might be going lower than 30% ROI, or it might be going less than $5 profit per unit, right? So this guide is giving it all right here in front of you, basically in a snapshot. So then as you move down, this is where you're able to toggle the price, the estimated price, and the estimated sale price. Now, ideally, you want to put the estimated sale price of what the current price is, or you can analyze the listing and expect where you're going to be able to sell it at different times of the months or different times of the years, right? If it's holidays, maybe the price of the product goes up, so you're expected to sell the product at $50 rather than $43.98, right? Or maybe you're expected to sell it lower because the number of sellers is rising, so you want to basically bake in a lower price to sell at and still make sure you're making your 30% ROI and your $5 profit per unit, right? If that's your criteria. For me, that's my criteria, and that's how my SellerAmp is set up here. But I'll show you exactly how to set up your SellerAmp here at the end of this video. So now, what you want to do is you want to toggle this cost price because this is the price that you need to find it for from whatever supplier you're working with, whether it's a retailer, a wholesaler, or a distributor, or even the brand. That's the cost you need to get it at least hit your minimum criteria. Now, anything lower than that is great because that means we're making more profit and more ROI, right? But you can play around with this number here on SellerAmp to see, okay, if I get my buy cost here at 20, did you notice how everything in the software changed to green? Because that means that it's hitting my criteria in every single spot. It's hitting the profit per dollar, it's hitting the ROI, the profit margin. And it also, on the far right corner here where my cursor is, that also tells you where the break even of this product is. And don't worry, SellerAmp already calculates all the fees, right? The Amazon fees, the referral fee, the shipping fee, and you're able to input your own fees if you have a prep center, your inbound shipping fees. So that way, you know for sure that if you're buying this product at $20, you're making $8.94. There are no surprises, right? Outside of being their returns and refunds, outside of that, there are no surprises, right? So it's important to really analyze this well and play around with your back-end stuff, which we'll do at the end of this video, to make sure that you feel comfortable with what you expect the inbound shipping cost to be, maybe what your prep center fee is, or maybe what your fee is for every box you buy, right? So it's important. Now, as I mentioned, this here shows the profit per dollar, the estimated profit per dollar. This is $8.94 if we bought it for 20. Now, if you bought it for 25, you can see it goes down, $3.94, right? So basically it's a real-time instant data calculator so that you can get real-time access, because you might be toggling between different suppliers and which one to work with or which one not to work with. Because maybe someone supplies it at 23, maybe someone supplies it at 27. So you're able to input these buy costs and say, okay, maybe I'm okay to work with this supplier, but will the pricing work out, right? So it's all kind of right in front of you here. Now, as you go down, there's a lot of numbers here on the chart and it may confuse you, but most of it's not important, right? Because the main part of SellerAmp is the top part, right? Because you have to see your profit, you have to calculate your profit, see how much money you're actually making, because you have to see whether it's worth it or not to buy the inventory before you buy the inventory, because you don't want to buy the inventory and then be surprised by these inbound shipping costs or Amazon fees. You want to know exactly what you're expected to make, minus maybe some returns or refunds, before you buy the product. And that way you can say, okay, if I continue to do this month over month, I'm going to find a lot of success, right? But let's go on down all the way kind of towards the bottom here where it's called the profit calculator, because although it shows you more of what you see in the first part, there's different things that it can show you that gets into more detail that's really important, right? The first thing is max cost. And that's why, because right below the max cost is going to show you your total fees. So you have your max cost that I have set up here, 30% ROI and $5 profit per dollar. And the way it's going to get to that max cost is right below it from the fees. Now, these are going to be all the possible fees that you input, and SellerAmp automatically calculates because they pull the data from Amazon, from their database, and they pull it into their software in real time. So you know exactly what the FBA fee is and what the referral fee is without actually having to add the product to your catalog and wasting all this time, right? So you can see here the referral fee, which is basically 15% of the sale price that Amazon takes on every product, is $5.07. Okay, so then below it is the FBA fee. This is basically the fee to let Amazon store the product, ship the product to the customer, and any other fees that are associated with the product being at Amazon's warehouse rather than being at your warehouse. Because if you have a warehouse or if you're shipping out of your own house, that's where it's called FBM. I've gone over it, right? And as you know, FBM stands for fulfilled by merchant. So you're able to even toggle between FBA, FBM, which we'll do in a minute here, to see what the difference in ROI or profit that you'll make if you use either or. But going down the fees here, you can see storage fee, you can input prep fee, which I have 75 cents is what I pay at the prep center. And they have inbound shipping fee, which you can edit on the back end to basically, an expected fee for every pound or how much it weighs. You're going to have to do the math on the back end. Then there's inbound placement fee. And then you can also add a miscellaneous fee, which I always add 70 cents for just any unexpected costs of, bags or boxes or, packaging products and such, right? But we'll go all through this on the back end so you can set your SellerAmp exactly to how I have mine set up. But if you scroll a little bit up here, like I mentioned, you can toggle between FBA and FBM. As you can see here, I'm toggling between FBA and FBM. If I move my cursor here, it turns gray and green with FBA. But that's because if you actually want to ship a product FBM out of your house or out of your warehouse, you're able to actually calculate this the same way we did with FBA, but the expected product profit. The only difference here is you have to input the expected FBM cost, which is the cost it is to store at your warehouse or house, which is probably zero. But more importantly, the cost for shipping to the customer, which you have to know with over time of how much a product is potentially going to ship right? How much it's going to cost, which carrier you use, USPS, UPS, FedEx, whichever carrier that you prefer. But let's say, for example, it's going to cost us $10 to ship this product because it's kind of big. Now, as we go back into our profit, you can see how it changes again in real time. $6 profit and 47 cents and 32% ROI. And then if we change it between FBA and FBM, we can actually see in real time $8.94 in profit and 44% ROI. That's more profitable to ship it to Amazon and store it at their fulfillment center rather than shipping it out of our house. Now, there's benefits to doing both FBM versus FBA, which I'll make an entire video on that and put that in the comments. But you can see that SellerAmp provides you the real-time data right in front of you. So now let's jump into reverse sourcing, which is basically an add-on to SellerAmp that is so powerful. All right, let's dive into this second part of SellerAmp, which is maybe the most underrated part of it. And it's what I like to call steal like an artist, but it's famously called in the Amazon space, reverse sourcing. So as we dive into it here, you're gonna see all I am on the SellerAmp software and extension here is at the complete bottom, right? So we work through the profit, we work through the calculator and such, but at the bottom, what SellerAmp actually does is they present to you every single possible seller that is on this listing. So now, as you can see here in the bottom left corner on SellerAmp, it shows 61 total offers, which means 61 total different sellers. And you're able to load more to see all the entire sellers and go all throughout which prices they have their pricing set at. But you're actually able to click on these sellers all through SellerAmp and go into their storefront and see what they're also selling. So let's give it a try, right? Let's say, for example, as we dive into this person's storefront, our FZ fulfillment, let's say that we feel like, this seller may have profitable products and we kind of want to copycat or steal like an artist what they're selling and then go to find their source site a bit easier than just, manually sourcing it out of the blue, right? So when I click on this through SellerAmp, it brings me to a new tab, right? And it's this seller's storefront. It's going to show me his ratings. It's going to show me his name. It's going to show me what brands he's carrying. And if I just scroll down, these are all the stores and the products that he's selling, right? It's all the products that he's selling on Amazon. And you can see basically quick real-time data, right? You can see what the buy box cost is, which is that little box there on the bottom right, which shows what the product is selling at. You can see the other offers on these listings. You can see the monthly sales. You can see the BSR, which we talked about. We can also see his store stock, right? So all the data that you need basically is all in a quick guide. And SellerAmp also links with Keepa, which is also the second biggest software you need with Amazon when analyzing products. It links with Keepa where you basically get a quick guide or a quick presentation of the Keepa chart on the right side of the seller. So all right in front of you, you can see how well the product sells, what other sellers are selling. You can see the Keepa chart on the far right. And I didn't even mention, in the middle, you can see the top 5 offers provided by SellerAmp, right? So you can see what other sellers are on the listing and what their products or what price they're selling it at and what their stock quantity is, right? As I go down the list here, Thrifty White Essentials, RFZ Fulfillment, Preferred Pharmacy Plus, Branded Steals, I Buy Direct. These are all other third-party sellers that are selling on these listings, and SellerAmp basically provides all that data just from clicking on this person's storefront and going through all the products he can sell. Now, what you want to do is once you find a potential product that you actually like or feel that you can make profit on with Amazon, you want to copy the product title here, right? Right at the top, copy the product title. Hopefully it doesn't come up, as a link, but even better, we could just do it here. Copy the product title. Then open up a new tab, type in that tab into Google, and you'll see all the products on Google, basically through their search algorithm, that are popping up. And ideally, it should be the same product that you just typed in Google. So now you can potentially find the same exact source site or the place that seller is buying it from, and also buy it from them, from that supplier, and then sell the same exact product on Amazon and just share the sales, share the buy box, right? So you can do this with hundreds of listings, because if we dive back into our original listing that we were on, this Ryobi product, remember, there are 60 sellers here on this product. So now you can go into every single seller's storefront and go into the little rabbit hole of looking at what other sellers are selling, maybe even clicking on and opening up other listings that they're selling on, and then reverse sourcing those listings. So you can see the rabbit hole goes on and on and on. And as you find good sellers to actually reverse source, you can be in this rabbit hole for hours and find unlimited products. So that's one of the most underrated aspects of SellerAmp. And I can do an entire video on reverse sourcing and stealing like an artist so that you guys can do it successfully and not waste your time with it, right? So let's jump into the number 3, which is basically breaking down the back end of SellerAmp and setting it up so all of your metrics already populate when you open up the extension. All right, here we are in the back end of SellerAmp, and I know there's a lot of things going on, but it's very simple, and there's only a few different settings that you have to change to actually make it what you need it to be. So let's go on through it. But basically, to get to this place is you sign up for a SellerAmp account, right? And you go to your SellerAmp.com, and then you go into your own SellerAmp settings. And then when you go to the bottom of your SellerAmp settings, but this will pop up, and this is how you basically alter every tool and every setting to have it to your liking. So let's go from top to bottom. First, we're gonna start with Amazon inbound FBA shipping. Now, again, let's note this. This is something that you can always change, and it's kind of a guess and check, and it's what I've always been doing. But I know that 75 cents a pound has always been a good number to use with Amazon's inbound shipping. You can even use 50 cents or 30 cents. And I know that's a big difference, but I like to bake it in a little more to, that it's gonna be higher than what I actually expect. Because if I buy a product and then want to send it on to Amazon through the, their portal, through Seller Central, and then it ends up being a lot more than what I expected, now I'm actually losing money on the product, right? So you wanna just bake it in, play it a little safe. Right? So I put 75 cents a pound. Now, what you wanna do here is, on the right, you want to go to buybacks analysis, which is 90-day average. Just pops up a quick little, a little buy box there, a little seller and buy box. So you want to put 90-day average. Now, the rest of it is not really too important. This is really just preferences of what you want to see on your quick guide and your quick info, which you can change. Do you want to see your profit? Probably. Do you want to see your profit margin? Yes. ROI? Yes. Break even? Yes. You can toggle these on and off if you only want to see certain things, but I like to keep them on just to get all data all right in front of me. And all the other stuff is pretty much self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. You want to put FBA. I mean, you can toggle between FBA and FBM, so it doesn't matter really too much, right? So you don't have to put too much weight into that. But here's where we get into the good stuff here. Now at the bottom, as I talked about, the BSR, best sellers rank. Now, you don't really want to sell a BSR that's higher than 1% because that means it's not in a really good spot with its category and with its sector. So you want to do max BSR 1%. And anyways, you would see the volume of products that are at 2% or 3%. They're very, very bad and very, very low. And that's how you guarantee failure with Amazon, because you're selling products that actually don't sell on a month-to-month basis. You want to sell ones that have high BSRs and that sell well. So go ahead and change this to 1. I already have mine at 1, so we'll keep it there. Now you want to go to minimum profit per dollar. So how much do you want to make in dollars for every product that you sell? Some people do 3, some people do 2, some people do 10, because it depends on what you're selling of a product, of how expensive it is. Is it $70, right? Is it $5, $10, right? It's very hard to sell lower profit per unit items, but it's all preference, right? Because if you sell a product that are typically $70 and you say your minimum profit has to be 2, well, that's very, very bad ROI. So typically you have to have a higher profit per dollar if you're selling more expensive products, right? Which I have mine at 5, which I feel is a good base, but you can certainly go lower and you can certainly go higher. So then you want to go into your minimum ROI. I have mine at 30%. Sometimes I toggle this between 35 and 30%, just because you want to, bake in for any returns or anything that may go wrong with the product. Maybe inbound shipping is more than we expected, right? So I like to keep mine at 30%. It's a good rule to have. Now, it's important to know, some people go down to 25%, 20%, but you have to bake in for a bit of returns or a bit of any problems, because problems can always happen at any time. So you want to have a good ROI where you feel comfortable, even if you lost some money through inbound shipping or through returns or refunds or any problems, you're still in a good spot with this listing that you could sell over time. All right. So now moving into the next one, we have the prep fee. So moving myself to the right here, my prep center charges 75 cents for every unit that I ship into Amazon, and it's different with multi-packs and such, so you have to kind of analyze it on the fly. But if you have a prep center and they charge $1, just put in $1. Or if they charge $1.50, put in $1.50, right? Mine is 75 cents, so pretty self-explanatory. And miscellaneous fee, I use this for cost of tape, boxes, poly bags, any other miscellaneous products. I know that you don't need this, but it's also another safety net to know, like, okay, am I still going to be in good shape if anything goes wrong with this product and refunds, returns, or inbound shipping? I like to have a little bit of a miscellaneous fee to bake in there and make sure that I'm safe here. You can certainly have yours at 0, but take this into note. If you're shipping with FBM, right, out of your house, then it's impossible to have a $0 miscellaneous fee unless you just keep it in your prep fee, because you have to pay for a box, right? And the cost of a box may be 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents. And then you have to pay for packaging and taping somehow. So this miscellaneous fee is actually important, and I think you should keep it in there, whether you're selling FBA or FBM, because even with FBA, unless you ship to Amazon the same box that it came in the product, you still have to buy a box from Home Depot or Walmart or one of the bigger carriers, which might be $2. And I know it's spread across every single unit, but you have to bake in some fees and to play it safe to know that you're still going to make a good profit and good, hit your criteria, hit your $5 profit per unit and hit your 30% ROI. So there you go. That's the third breakdown there. And this is SellerAmp on the back end and how to exactly set up your software just like this. So when you pop up the Chrome extension, everything will be automatically populated right here on Amazon. All right, there is a full breakdown on SellerAmp. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe so I can continue to make more content on Amazon FBA and get you guys to start selling your first $1,000. See you for now.